those 2 weeks?
I think that I think our front seven on defense, I think we got some depth there. I feel really good about that. They've played awfully aggressive and played awfully well. And so, and then, on offense is that I do think that, our first group has improved a bunch. And, our issue there still is the depth in the offensive line. And we have some very good young players there from some freshmen and redshirt freshmen, but, it's just a different beast to be ready to go. But the additions we've made with the junior college kids and the work that the other guys have put in, I do feel really good that we'll be able to put a first team out there that on offense that can move the football.
Has the optimism increased, stayed the same from where you were a couple of weeks ago at Big Ten meeting?
Oh, it's increased. I mean, we practice now, so I've got to see them, I think we're on schedule to be ready to play a first game as far as what kids would tell you. As coaches, you could practice for a month and want to practice 2 more days to clean things up. But we're getting close here to where, they're getting tired of practicing and we need to play a game. But by no means are we perfect. We do have a few things to clean up, but I do think we're on schedule to get that done to be ready to play the first game.
Tracy, any changes you made with your offensive system? You feel like guys are to the point where they're playing fast and not having to think?
I think one group is. If again, depth is going to be a little bit of an issue, probably. But I do think the one group is getting more and more comfortable all the time, it's going to be important up front that we stay healthy. We stay healthy, on offense, that's my biggest concern right now.
Does having played Wisconsin with Gary Anderson there help in this game planning?
Yeah, Coach Anderson really is a spread offensive guy, but what shows he's a good football coach when he went to Wisconsin, he adapted to what they had and did those types of things. So they're a little bit differently on offense than when he was at Wisconsin. It's more of what he's used to, But obviously is that we haven't changed much on defense at all, and so they're gonna have an idea of what they want to go after. The O-line coach is out there that was with him at Wisconsin, and so they'll know more about us than some other opponents, But it still comes down to executing.
Tracy, you've got high expectations for this team. You said that they need to be in the hunt at the end of the year.
Yeah.
How do you match those expectations without the team believing that they're good, that they don't do the work?
I still think it's just the one game at a time mentality. That's what you got to keep preaching, and no matter what, you're going to have to play all those games to get there. And so it's one game at a time, and the teams that play well each week and do what they're supposed to do, then they'll get what they deserve at the end of the season. So it's all about still keeping focused on each game and playing your best each game, and everything else will take care of itself.
That mentality?
Hope so. We'll see. We'll see. So they've done awfully well. I just say in the summer our conditioning and weightlifting has done well, and with what we've had to deal with during fall camp, is that they've practiced awfully well for some things had been nice to take a day off here and there, but that's not the way this world works, and they've stayed focused and practiced awfully well.
So your starting units then, I know you said 2 weeks ago was 18 practices, and you have a good idea?
Yeah, we're just doing that now, we're pretty much, I just got done meeting with the offense this morning, and I know where we're at there, and meet with the defense this afternoon, and we'll do special teams in the morning. So before we go to practice tomorrow, there'll be a depth chart released, but I want to make sure I get all of them done, and special teams has to go last because you got to count on the guys you're counting for on offense and defense and kind of plug them into special teams. So before we go to practice tomorrow, it'll all be set for the first game.
Trace, one of the when BTN was here, one of the updates was that it looked like Rhoda was maybe ahead at, running behind Mitch. Is there anything to that?
Update from who?
BTN, one of the Big Ten Network people that were here, put that out on Twitter.
I guess you have to decide whether to believe them or not, you know what I'm saying? As they say, beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, or whatever, however that goes. So I'll update it when we do a depth chart. All right?
How do you assess how Demery and Seth and those Connor have played at this camp?
It's hard, you know, I mean, obviously Mitch is ahead of everybody else, and it's the same thing. So now you got to decide, if you get into an injury situation, who gives you the best opportunity to win. And so, and for the first game, you make that decision based off what you've seen so far, and you know, that decision, not that, I mean, we're going to release a depth chart, but a true one will probably be decided after this week, to see how those other guys handle the game plan that they put in. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, Mitch is far ahead from those, and so, you know, who would give us the best opportunity if Mitch is injured? That's what we got to get figured out here by the end of this week.
Tracy, how's Jay Johnson? How's that been different than what you've had in the past?
You know, like I say, it's different because they do everything together as a whole staff, and Jay's in charge of it. So you sit in there. I've sat in on a bunch of the meetings, and they're really organized, and he knows what he wants to go through. And as I said before, it used to be split. You know, the guys in the passing game would go and do passing game stuff, run guys. So it's nice to have one guy. That's just what I'm comfortable with. And as you go through things and everybody's in there and hears the same ideas and makes those decisions.
How would you assess Tracy Tyler Johnson?
Done a tremendous job. I mean, for a true freshman, it's unbelievable. You know, really is that just because, you know, you're talking about a kid who played every sport in high school, including baseball. He done AAU basketball, hasn't had much time in the weight room. If we wouldn't bring in freshmen in June, he probably wouldn't have a chance because of the strength thing. But he's added some strength, and because of the eating, he's gained some weight. And I do think that the AAU basketball has given him a mentality of competing against older kids. You know, I mean, he's been doing that since he played AAU basketball. And so it didn't faze him to get out there and go against older kids, and, you know, tremendous hands, and he can jump now and come up with the ball. So he'll definitely be a part of what we're doing this fall.
Tracy, when you hired Johnson, just from an X and O standpoint, you've been studying offensive coordinators forever. What was it about his X and O's that kind of stood out to you?
Well, like I say, just being a lot more diversified out of 11, you know, one tight end, 3 wide. So I just think that you got to be, if you're going to get into that type of personnel, which everybody is to spread the field, it just can't be to pass the ball all the time. And so that had a lot to do with it, you know, his success in that personnel and spreading the field. You know, if you 2 backs and somebody makes a mistake, there's usually enough guys close enough to the box to cover up that mistake to where it doesn't turn into anything big. But when you spread the field and you make a mistake, it's going to get a lot of yards. And so his experience in doing that and taking advantage of what defenses give you, that's why we did that.
You look at the success they had in the red zone at Louisiana. Was there anything that stands out to why he would be so good at something like that?
Is that, well, I think part of it is anytime you have a belief, and like you say, I was told by everybody who's coached with Coach Johnson before, is that he does a tremendous job of taking advantage of weaknesses and how people have to defend him. And so I have to think that in the red zone, everybody has certain ways they like to play, and I have to think that he made good decisions on how to attack what they were doing. And hopefully we can continue to do that here.
Is it fair to say that Shannon is ruled out for Oregon State, and is it going to be Rodney Smith and then Kobe, or Rodney Smith and Kobe, or how is that going to work out?
Well, I guess we'll see by tomorrow afternoon. All right.
Mitch wasn't able to practice in the spring, but he said he would try to get as many mental reps in the playbook early. Have you seen it pay off?
Oh,
these
yeah.
last few weeks?
Yeah, he's a lot better. Where he lost the weight, you know, is made him better. And far as moving around the pocket and that. And so he's played awfully well. And we have a lot more on our plate. You know, is that we're much more of a quarterback being in charge, getting you out of bad plays and things like that than what we've been in the past. So the quarterbacks have a lot more on their plate, and he's done a good job with that.
Do you have to change his mentality a little bit? He likes to run over linebackers and so forth. Do you want him to be a little more careful with his body this year?
I want him to score touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? And I do think, you know, with what you're saying, I think there's smart ways of doing things at certain times of games. There's no question. But, you know, if it comes down to a 3rd and 1 for us to keep the ball and that's what it takes, then I want him to run over top of the linebacker, you know, and keep the chains moving. But I also think is that you have to manage how many hits he takes. There's no question. If you don't have to take hits, you don't want him to take hits.
Tracy, is there anything in practice you see from him where it's a check or a throw or some kind of decision he makes where you think 2 years ago he wouldn't have been able to do that?
Yeah, you know, is that well, one is that it's just you know, as how do I want to say this, is that the checking system's completely different than what we did in the past. They were pretty much told what to check to, and it's really up to him. When he notices the defense is going to give us problems for what we got called, there's no certain thing. He's got the right to check to what he thinks is the best play against that. And obviously, I mean, they've talked about options, but we're not going to lock him into just saying you have to check to this one thing. So he has done a tremendous job with that, with everything he's seen in fall camp. So and I think a lot of it goes. He'll also tell you that Coach Johnson, they've taken a lot of quizzes and video tests, and I know I've enjoyed sitting in on their position meetings and watching them and how he teaches, and it's been a lot of fun for me. I'm very confident in what we're doing.
So that's a lot to put on the quarterback. Is that because of him or is that the system?
That's just the system nowadays. You see so many things on defense, and we do the same things. It's not very many people play base defense, you know, I don't know, half the snaps maybe even, you know, and so, you know, I talked about we had a bunch of negative yardage plays last year, and that's the one thing we've been able to eliminate by putting more on the quarterback's play. Not that they break for a touchdown, but you know, where you get 2 or 3 yards, and now all of a sudden it's 2nd and 7 rather than being 2nd and 15, you know, 2nd and 14. So he's done a great job at that, of eliminating those negative yardage plays by turning it over to him a little bit more.
How's he
We
throwing
got
it,
time for
Tracy?
about 2 more. Go ahead.
How's Mitch throwing it?
Really well, really well. You know, as somebody said the other day, he does occasionally. I mean, he's not on spot, but anybody you turn on and watch, nobody's on spot on every one, you know. But he's really done a good job of, you know, making decisions and getting the ball out. You know, I think the things that, you know, Mitch still needs to improve on is in those, you know, you get to 3rd downs or play action passes on 1st down, is when to pull it down and run it or throw it away rather than take the chance of getting sacked. You know, it's hard he's such a competitor, it's hard for him to surrender in those situations and go, hey, you throw the ball away, 2nd and 10 is better than 2nd and 15 getting sacked because you're trying to make a play. But, you know, that a lot of that is his mentality, not wanting to give in.
We'll take our last question.
You mentioned last night that Mike Sherrill was released from the hospital. Can you
Yeah.
describe what the last week and few days have been like? Because I know your mind's on football right now, but
Right.
with
Well, I just think it's kind of, like I say, is that the world moves awfully fast, and the technology and everything's getting faster and faster, and the information's getting faster, and you know, you have things like, I mean, you know, it was weird. It was pretty close to each other that, you know, I find out that Coach Sawvell's dad went in the care of hospice, and then the thing with Mike happened, and I mean, bang, bang, and you'd like to take a day off and have time to think about it, but you know, is that game's scheduled, and it isn't going to change, and so the kids have had to do a good job of managing things and preparing, which I think they have. But anytime you know, those guys are awfully important to the kids, and the kids know that, and for preparing, and we do. We try very hard to promote a family type atmosphere, and it's important to me that the assistants care about their kids, and more so than just football. And so you take that away, and Coach Sherrill just popped up, and so unexpectedly, and so the shock of that, and so every day it's a life lesson. The world doesn't stop. You have to keep going, and we make sure that we provide time during the day for them to think about and address those situations. But when we do football, they got to do football, and they have done awfully well with that. So it's good now that I'm not, there's light at the end of the tunnel and I don't have any idea on any timeline or anything like that, but I'm just telling you, it's a hell of a lot better situation now than it was, and can allow us to get back to some type of normalcy and really concentrate on the first game.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
You guys, thanks a lot.
Minor in here.